You're listening to the Journey Podcast. What if I told you there's a way to transform fleeting intentions into lifelong habits that nourish your body, mind, and spirit? Find out more in today's episode. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we dive into the intricacies of making healthy habits a permanent part of our lifestyle. Our guest, an expert in holistic health coaching, shares invaluable insights and practical strategies for cultivating sustainable habits that promote overall well-being. We explore the importance of prioritizing health and wellness rather than striving for balance, and discuss how to integrate healthy habits into our daily routines in a way that feels natural and effortless. Claudia Dumond is a holistic health coach and founder of Minimondo. She set up Minimondo to document her own personal journey to well-being, and it soon became a passion. Through her journey, she realized that everything in life is a choice. How you wake up every morning and decide to tackle the day ahead is all down to your mindset and actions, which all comes down to you. Because of her own journey, Claudia wanted to support and inspire others on their journey to well-being. She has always loved motivating others to be their best. As a personal trainer of 15 years, a managing director in multiple advertising agencies, and most importantly, as a mom. Let's meet Claudia Dumond. Hi, Claudia. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because making healthy habits stick is such a wonderful topic for today's conversation. And I am really curious because making habits stick is really difficult sometimes. So welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Hi. No pressure to give some insights over.
Yeah, we want to know all the secrets today. Yeah, so welcome. And for starters, would you like to share a little bit about yourself and your story and what you do today and how you actually came to do that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder of Minimondo, a holistic well-being business where we empower women on their journey to well-being. And a lot of that is about helping them find the habits that are going to be sustainable in the long term. So hence, making them sticky, because that is really our mission on our journey to well-being. I've been in the health and well-being industry for about 20 years. I started teaching gym sessions whilst I was at university. I then progressed to be a personal trainer. I set up a women's outdoor fitness business in the UK, which was a lot of fun. And that was really all about bringing women together in a kind of common place, but revolving around movement and fitness and something healthy. I always found that men could just go and play football together, but women kind of maybe lacked that opportunity. So I set that up to bring women together to just enjoy being fit and healthy together. And then more recently qualified as a health coach to just try and tie some of the pieces of holistic well-being together. I just find that sometimes the narrative around well-being is focused very much on fitness or on weight loss, not even just food, but weight loss. So holistic well-being is, something that really interests me because there's just so much more than just moving and wanting to lose weight that can make us happy and thrive. And I kind of got here because probably when I became a mother, actually. I have 2 young children, and I spent the first few years of their lives really putting them first. And I actually lost a little bit of of my own kind of identity and what I loved. And even as someone who's always stayed fit and healthy, I even stopped doing that. I can't even explain why, but all my attention just went on being a mother to my kids and working and just kind of a little bit being on a treadmill. And yeah, it just kind of hit me that I needed to stop and take stock and figure out how to feel healthy and happy and well again for myself. And so that kind of intrigued me. The whole holistic health started to intrigue me. And that's why I decided to qualify as a health coach. And here I am today.
And here you are.
Helping other women on the same journey, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I hear that a lot, that there is a personal element involved in sort of what we end up doing, a reason why we start doing what we do for work or as our passion. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, when you talk about holistic well-being and you talk about holistic health, so some of the components you touched on, which is the fitness part or maybe the nutrition part, but what does that mean to you when we talk about holistic well-being? What does that even encompass? So say you kind of lost your identity a little bit after having children. That does happen to a lot of women. So what should they even be looking for when we talk about holistic well-being?
Yeah, so we see well-being through, I call them 6 levers, and I specifically call them levers because I see them as things that you can control and actively shift up and down. And, I always talk about the myth of balance. Actually, we shouldn't really be striving for balance. It's just prioritizing which levers may be more important at a certain time in our lives. So yeah, I see them as 6 levers of well-being, and they revolve around the mind, body, and soul because that's quite an easy way to think about them. So from a mind perspective, we look at things like growth, or we call it grow. And that's kind of finding a bit of a spark, finding something that lights you up, that you love to learn about or progress in. So it's that sense of moving forward. And then on the kind of opposing side, we talk about pause. So slowing down, and actually you need a bit of both of those. And at times you need to be more grow, and at times you need to be a little bit more pause. So taking time to be a bit more mindful, be a bit more present. And then we move to body levers. We talk about food, what we cook, but also how we eat and being mindful in our choices. And also we talk about move. And I don't use the word fitness because it's more about joyful movement, finding something that you love to do. And that's part of making something sticky. All too often, maybe we sign up for the gym in January, or we think we should be going to CrossFit or doing HIIT classes, but that suits some people, but not everybody. So it really is finding what you're going to love, and there will be something. And then in the soul space, we look at connect, and it might be connecting to yourself. So being more aware of what you love and what you need. And we also look at connection with others and spending time with others, talking, writing to them, being grateful for others and things like that. And finally, space. And that is literally the physical space around us. It might be how you design your home. It might be making sure that if you're a busy mum, you have a little space to retreat to, or it's getting out in nature every day. And so all of those things together make up this sense of holistic well-being. But across all of them, we talk about trying to keep it simple, trying to keep it natural, finding the joy in all of those, and finding things that are sustainable. So those are the 6 levers that we look at and how we try to view them. But you also asked the question about losing identity. And actually, the very first step to making change is figuring out your why, because someone might want to lose weight, but it's understanding the why behind that. Is it to spend more time being active with the kids, for example? Then suddenly you have a bit of a deeper motivation at the very beginning of the journey to get you going.
It's very interesting that you touch on balance in what you just explained with the levers, because I feel like everywhere we look, there's this pressure that we have to achieve a balance in life. And to take that pressure off and to say, actually, look, you don't need to achieve balance because that might be too difficult. We can prioritize the things that are important in our lives. I love that because
Yeah.
that comes at it from a completely different angle that I think will be much, much easier to work with for many, many people. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I think and again, as I kind of moved into more of a holistic well-being space, for me in my life, I was trying to work, trying to be a mother, trying to be a wife, a friend, a daughter. I mean, it was just trying to keep the house clean, trying to be an entertainer. I mean, it was just so overwhelming. But actually, if you start with your why and work from there, and it can literally be kind of a little vision for yourself for the next 3 months, could be a very short term, or the next 6 months. Oh, I'd really love to spend my days doing X, Y, or Z, or this is the kind of person I want to become, and this is why. Suddenly the priorities start to kind of make themselves quite obvious. And that might be, I really want a promotion at work, and it's going to take me 6 months to do that, which means I can focus on work and progressing there. I can focus on my family and my health, but everything else is going to just, socializing might take a sidestep for a while, but it's not forever. And knowing that we have control and can choose how and when to dial up or down those levers, I think that's the most powerful thing. It's totally up to us and what we want.
That's really empowering also. I think listening to the fact that we do have that choice, even though it sometimes feels like we might not have any choices, but we do have the choice of where we're going to focus. So that feels very empowering when I think about that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It also feels like it's much more achievable, especially when women are very busy. They work, they have families. We very often have to wear so many different hats. And to take a bit of that pressure off and say you have to do everything and you have to balance it, to actually say, yeah, let's focus on a few things that are important to your why and that will move you forward. I like that. That sounds
Yeah.
really great.
And hopefully it will help you feel like you're focusing in the right areas as well. If you know a little bit of a direction that you're going in, then actually that kind of gives you a reason why you're doing something, and a little bit of that motivation and an understanding of, oh, I'm doing this action because, and that all kind of starts to make sense.
Yeah, it's very motivational, as you said, because if we just set a goal, but we don't actually have any reasons behind that, I think chances are we're not going to get there. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
very
Yeah.
important. Yeah. So, if we figured out our why and we've come up with a goal and we have a really strong burning passion behind that, say we want to lose weight or we want to just get in better shape or we want to do something at work, we figured it out now. So, where do we go from there? And what steps do we take next?
Yeah. What we normally do is talk about four things. Start really small. And that sometimes sounds a bit boring because you say, no, but I've decided now, so I'm just going to go all in. And that could work. I mean, that can work for some people, but for many of us, the likelihood is we'll go all in, and then it might become a bit too overwhelming for us, or just our normal day starts to creep back in and we haven't quite landed those habits in time, and then they start to kind of disappear. So starting really small, I mean, breaking an action down to its smallest part, which might seem so silly, but the beauty of that is that you're highly likely to succeed. So if you say, I'm just going to start with 5 minutes of walking. So I need to get to my car and I'll walk 5 minutes the long way round to get to it, for example. I'm going to do that every day. The probability is that you will succeed because it's so small. And that gives you the evidence that you are able to make change happen. So starting really small, start very, very easy. So again, sometimes maybe we think, right, I'm just going to get rid of all of the junk food in the house and I'm not going to ever eat, any junk food ever again. That's actually really hard because you're making such a huge shift to what you currently do today. So making it really easy. And one of the things we look at is what can you bring into your day that's easy to do rather than thinking about what are you going to stop doing. It's much more positive. And the thought behind it is that you're kind of going to crowd out all of or some of the bad habits just because you're naturally focusing on bringing in the good ones. So what can you bring into your day that's really easy, that you cannot fail? And again, give yourself that evidence that you can do it. How do you make it fun? I mean, fun is so important. Like if you're going to eat a bit of lettuce for lunch, again, that might motivate you for a little while because you feel like it's a healthier option. But the reality is you're probably going to get bored. And so you have to find the joy in any new healthy habits that you do. So if it's that 5-minute walk, is there a song that you love to listen to that might, give you a bit of motivation on that walk? Is there a quick call you can make or a meditation to listen to? How can you combine some things that would just make that fun? And then also reward yourself. So when you do succeed, don't be scared to acknowledge that you've done it. And, maybe it's like a star, like a child's reward chart, or maybe it's actually, I'll get my coffee at the end of the 5-minute walk. So what might that little reward be that just helps you do the habit first and then finish with something really positive? And then think about, how can you use your spaces around you and inspire your senses, really? So do you replace the chocolate tin with some nuts on the counter so you see them every day, even if you're not eating them? That's so easy. So it's like that's one of the easy changes you can make. You don't even need to eat them. They just need to be there. And one day you might just go for the nuts because the chocolate biscuits have disappeared, So how can you use your visual space around you to help make those changes? So those are just kind of some starting places to think about how to bring some healthy habits into your day.
Yeah, I like the idea of breaking it down like that because it can seem so overwhelming when you think of, oh, I have to exercise, I have to now cook all these healthy meals, I have to do better at work, I have to do this, that, and the other things. So it can get very overwhelming. So I like the idea of just bite-sized pieces that we can add to our days and just slowly over time, I think these bite-sized pieces become habits that then we stick to. So
yeah. And look, habits take a really long time to form. On average, it takes about 66 days, but that's an average. So some people will find that they stick quicker and some people will take longer for any new habit to stick. So thinking that we can bring in, 6 or 7 new things into our day overnight and we're going to be successful, that's going to be really challenging. But picking 1, 2, maybe 3 things that are very small and very easy and doing them for 3 weeks at least before you move on to something else. And also don't be afraid to test things out. So, if you just the nuts on the side are just not doing it for you, find a different snack and replace it. It's totally fine. Have a bit of fun with it. Get curious and play with it. Think, okay, that isn't working, but that doesn't mean that I failed. It just means I need to tweak it and find something else and look at it more as a game rather than as something positive rather than, a failure. If one thing you've chosen to do doesn't quite work, how could you tweak it to make it more fun, more easy, smaller? Looking at all of those things that we talked about maybe it's not small enough. Maybe it's not easy enough. Maybe it's not fun enough. Maybe I can't see it enough. So always asking those questions to break it down even further if something hasn't quite worked out, and then tweaking it and trying something else rather than saying, well, oh, I just won't do it anymore, which sometimes happens. If we don't succeed at something, we sometimes stop.
Yeah. And I think now that you mentioned that it takes on average about 66 days to make a habit, I think it would be good to go into making new habits, kind of having that in the back of your mind to know that this isn't going to happen in a week or 2 weeks, but you need to have a bit of patience if you want to make those changes stick. So that's a good thing to keep in the back of your mind, to say, okay, I'm here for a couple months. I'm going to test this out. I'm going to make a game out of this, but I will see the results if I consistently do this for a few months. So yeah, that's very, very interesting. Now, I'm sure that you've heard it all from your clients, the excuses of why things couldn't be done or can't be done or what's holding them back. So what are some of those things that you're hearing on why people feel like they cannot make any changes in their lives?
Yeah, I think one of the things that comes to mind immediately as you ask the question is time. People just feel like they really do not have enough time in the day. And sometimes what I get people to do is almost keep a planner. So how have they actually spent their time? And I actually wrote an article last year about, is Netflix ruining our dreams? I mean, that's a bit dramatic, obviously, but I'm pretty sure, there are a lot of us who end the day with a little cheeky episode of something on Netflix, when actually, if we'd just taken that 30 minutes or hour to do an action that aligns to our really important why, that's half an hour of time that you can actually gain back and use it to something productive. And that's aligned to kind of making positive changes. So time, I kind of call these myths that we tell ourselves, actually, like, we just don't have enough time. Actually, if you start getting analytical about your time, a lot of us can find the time to do it. And also that's why making it small and making it easy is really important, because you could say, okay, I can carve out 5 minutes, or I could wake up five minutes earlier than I normally do. Those feel a little bit more achievable than, making them really big. And that's why that's a really nice starting point. And it does kind of resonate with the lack of time. But another technique that I talk to clients about and works really well for me as well is time boxing. So, for example, maybe I know that every day in the morning, I want to do some kind of movement. I'm not going to do the same thing every day or exactly the same length of time, but I'm going to look at every day individually and say, right, I need to drop the kids to school. Then I have 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes is going to be focused on my exercise. Then I'll come home. But just because it's not half an hour, it doesn't mean I do it. I time box it. I put it into my schedule. It's there. I do it. And then I move on. So even those small little moments between doing things can be really useful moments in time. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard about habit stacking. So if you really need to watch Netflix at nighttime, then maybe it's possible to make a healthy snack for the next day whilst watching Netflix. So kind of connecting a new healthy habit with a habit that you love, that you're going to really struggle to not do anymore, and doing it at the same time. Again, that connection between, that's when I make my healthy snack, is when I'm watching my favorite show or something, or trying to kind of combine things to help them stick. So time is definitely something that people talk about. We talked about balance and trying to, the kind of myth that we need to balance it all is something that comes up all the time. I work with a lot of mums, and mum guilt is a huge one. I'm like, I really want to do this, but I have to be with my kids, or I have to take my kids to school. I have to cook my kids' lunch or, whatever it might be. But again, actually, sometimes going for a walk with your kids is amazing, if you're trying to move. So they shouldn't necessarily be seen as the barrier. Maybe they can be brought into some of these habits. And actually that, when we talk about connection, that's an amazing way to connect as a family, to go for a walk or explore. So that's a lovely one. But equally, and, this is said a lot nowadays, which is amazing, but you do have to, if you are looking after yourself, you will be a better mum. So, it's working through some of those mindset things with clients as well. And what other myths do I work with people on? Oh, here's a nice one, actually. Like, people talk about finding being healthy a bit boring or finding routines a bit boring. But actually, our bodies do thrive on routines. And we give our kids, and I talk about kids quite a lot because I do work with a lot of mums, but we give our kids a routine, like a bedtime routine, because it's good to calm them down and it helps them sleep better. But then, we're on our phones before bed, so even just learning from some of the routines we give our children, or a lot of the time kids have routines with their meal times. Actually, being regular with your meal times is really great for your body. So, not eating too late at night and then listening to your body in the morning and maybe just waiting a little bit for breakfast, but having maybe consistent meal times, sleep times, routines. But a lot of people talk about finding those boring, but actually we all as humans thrive on routines.
Yeah, I imagine also that routines kind of make you stick to it a little bit easier, because if we think of something automatic, sure, it might be boring, but it also then makes it quicker for us to complete that because we're used to it. We've done it a few times. So
Yeah.
those routines can be quite helpful in making things work a bit faster as well.
Yeah, especially to stay consistent with something and also for the long term, because actually, if you manage to build something into your routine that's regular, actually, when you stop, I think you'll feel it. You're more likely to feel it more that you've stopped something that you've been doing consistently. But also, I always used to say I hated routines as well. But again, what I tend to do is I time box a part of my day to move, but it's not the same thing every day. So one day it might be a lovely day and I'll go for a walk and listen to a podcast, or one day I'll do some Pilates online, or I'll go for, I really fancy going to the gym and lifting some weights. I do listen very much to my mood. And whilst I have a routine, it's kind of freedom within that routine to be flexible and mix it up a little bit so that it doesn't get too boring.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I like the idea of the time boxing as well. And then picking something. I mean, you can also cook something different. You can move in different kinds of ways, right? There's many, many options that you can add to be flexible and even bring your children into that. You can cook with them. I think there's also a mom and child yoga or something online. So you can bring them into lots of different things if you want to do something that's not the same every day. So yeah, keeps it a little bit more spicy when you're trying to make those habits.
Definitely. A bit more fun. I think fun is a key word for me in well-being, to be honest. So I think sometimes well-being gets a bad rep because you have to eat right, and it's kind of follow rules. It feels like you have to follow a lot of rules when you talk about well-being, but actually if you can make it fun and listen to your body and be respectful of it, I think you can really start to find ways that will bring a lot of joy to your well-being.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it. If we want to make those changes, we also want that to be a happy time for us and things that we actually want to sustain in the future and not feel like a punishment that we have to put on ourselves. So really important that fun comes into that and stays with that. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you work with clients on all of these things. And what kind of programs and services or products do you offer so that our listeners could get a sense of what it would feel like to work with you and what could they work on with you?
Yeah, sure. So I have a number of different ways that I work with clients. I offer one kind of introductory or just a one kickstart 90-minute call to work with my clients on. And the way I work is very action oriented. So we really do try to work through various different activities that will get to the bottom of your why and your needs and your wants. And then we work through creatively brainstorming ideas together to find the right actions for people to get started on. And again, together we work through how they can feel empowered to make those happen. So that could be a kind of very short, sharp, okay, I think I just need a little bit of a kickstart way of working. Just it's fun. And then I also offer one-to-one coaching on a much more longer term basis. And generally, if it is a longer term basis, it's around 3 months or so, purely because habits take time to change. And so it's really important to work through a lot of steps to move through replacing maybe negative habits with positive ones. And I have 2 different courses that I offer as well. So I have a mini course called New You, Crafting Your Wellbeing Blueprint. And that's a very quick course that people can buy online and they can do it in their own time. It's about a 30-minute course, but there's lots of worksheets and activities that they will get to work on in their own time, which hopefully will again work through some of these questions and help them start to uncover what those healthy habits are that are going to work for them. And then I also offer a signature course called the Gorgeous Mama Reboot course, which is really close to my own personal heart because it's very much for the mother in me when I was struggling and going through the change of becoming a mother. And so it's for all the mums out there who might also be struggling with it's specifically called a reboot, to just kind of give that little nudge in the right direction. And again, it's an online course. It provides actually a wellbeing workbook with specific actions. So actually they can just get started on things. It works through mindset and how to change mindset, works through activities to find the healthy habits again, and lots of meditations and visualizations. It's a very interactive course, but someone can do that again in their own time and hopefully come out the other side with some really positive actions and changes.
That sounds amazing. And we will be linking to all of Claudia's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there on how you can connect with her and how you can find the courses that she just spoke about and how you can work with her. If this episode has inspired you and you'd like to make some habits stick, then connect with Claudia and find out how you can do that. And this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope that our listeners have enjoyed our journey into making healthy habits stick as much as I have. I've learned so much again in the past half hour that we've spent together. So thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us today, Claudia. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for bringing all your wisdom.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really amazing to speak with you. I've loved every minute. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure to host you here today. And yeah, keep making those habits stick. And if you have a habit that you'd like to stick, like a nutrition habit, a weight loss habit, a well-being habit, then definitely connect with Claudia on that. And have a wonderful rest of your day and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.